بعيني كريئة مربتي بعيني كريئة حارنتي بعيني كريئة.
Good evening, our viewers. This is Tigrai Television coming to you live from Magala, and I would like to wish you a happy new year wherever you are in the world. And I'll proceed to our news for today. President Mikhail issued a letter to the United Nations Security Council calling on cessation of hostilities between the warring parties when it said there should be an end to the conflict to safeguard basic human rights. The letter said that significant matters such as complete lifting of the siege and ensuring unfettered humanitarian access to Tigray, as well as the withdrawal of Eritrean forces and the return to constitutionally recognized Tigrayan territory need to be ensured. For more, Abel Tsagabo reports.
President Mikhail writes to United Nations Security Council to propose cessation of hostilities that includes complete lifting of the siege, withdrawal of Eritrean forces, unfettered humanitarian access, and the restoration of constitutionally recognized Tigrayan territory as they stood prior to the outbreak of the war. The letter said peace process should include the appointment of credible panel of high-level international mediators that are acceptable by both parties and agreement on a clear timetable for the implementation of the agreement. It also requested that the process should have monitoring and verification mechanisms with penalty clauses, as well as ensure accountability for international crimes. The president said the fighting must end with decisive and irreversible victory for human rights. The president reiterated that peace is a strategic and existential choice for his government. It is to be recalled that United Nations Security Council has postponed its meeting on Ethiopia to Monday, 12th of September, as member states were divided whether the session should be held open or closed.
Meanwhile, President Debrecen sent a letter to King Charles III to express his condolences on the passing of Queen Elizabeth II. The president stated that Queen Elizabeth has undoubtedly witnessed and shaped several critical chapters in the history of the UK and beyond during the last 7 decades, saying the Queen's legacy will live on forever for generations. Governments across the globe have been sending letters of condolences since the news of the passing of the 96-year-old Queen Elizabeth II was heard on Thursday. Opposition parties in Tigray, namely Salsai Wayana, Tigray Independence Party, TIP, and National Congress for Great Tigray, issued a joint statement on Thursday calling on the international community to use every means at its disposal to stop the renewed joint military campaign on Tigray. The statement stressed that political interests of the international community in the Horn would be served only through peace that ensures the existence of the people of Tigray. For more, Abel Tsagabo has the details.
Tigray opposition parties, Salsai Wayana, Tigray Independence Party, and National Congress for Greater Tigray jointly issued a statement on Thursday to call on the international community to use every means at its disposal to stop the renewed joint military campaign against Tigray. The statement said the international community should put pressure on the Ethiopian government to stop using humanitarian access as bargaining chip, abide by international humanitarian law, and stop bombing civilians, allow access to international media to Tigray, put an end to the involvement of foreign forces, particularly the regime in Asmara, which it said must be told in clearest terms that it should withdraw from Tigrayan territory and stop its meddling in the internal affairs of Ethiopia, and to stop its active and ongoing crimes on Tigray, including access to financial and communication services, lifting the siege imposed on Tigray. The parties noted that even political interests of the international community in the Horn will be served through peace that ensures the existence of the people of Tigray. The statement said the international community and the media should understand the war is not between TPLF and Ethiopian government, but it's a war of the concerting forces that have decided to exterminate the people of Tigray. The parties also condemned the United States for its demand on Tigray defense forces to withdraw from areas they have captured in recent fighting, saying the call on Tigrayan forces to withdraw without calling for reciprocity by Ethiopian forces to leave Western Tigray is outrageous and unacceptable. It is to be recalled that Western Tigray remains under occupation of the allied forces of Amhara militia, the Fano vigilante group, the Ethiopian National Defense Forces, and the Eritrean army for nearly 2 years.
President of the United States, Joe Biden, extends national emergency with respect to Ethiopia, effective as of September 17, 2022. The president says he found it necessary to extend sanctions as the situation in Ethiopia poses threats to national security and foreign policy of the United States of America. Abel Zagabu reports again.
Joe Biden extends sanctions on Ethiopia. In his letter on Friday, the President of the United States, Joe Biden, extended national emergency with respect to Ethiopia effective as of September 17, 2020. The President said he found it necessary to extend the sanction as the situation in Ethiopia continues to pose an unusual and extraordinary threat to the national security and foreign policy of the United States of America. The letter said the situation in northern Ethiopia has also been marked by activities that threaten the peace, security, and stability of Ethiopia and the greater Horn of Africa region. In particular, widespread violence, atrocities, and serious human rights abuse, including those involving ethnic-based violence, rape, and other forms of gender-based violence, and obstruction of humanitarian operations. The national emergency was declared on September 17, 2021 in an executive order. Among others, in the presidential executive order is a section authorizing the Secretary of Treasury to impose sanctions, including blocking all property interests in property on individuals who threaten the security or stability of Ethiopia or not have the purpose or effect of expanding or extending the crisis in northern Ethiopia, obstructing a ceasefire or a peace process. The sanction includes individuals from all warring parties whose name remains to be unknown after a year into the sanction.
September 11 marks the Ethiopian New Year of 2015. It is, however, a day that Tigrayans are forced to celebrate under hostilities and an all-encompassing siege for 2 consecutive years. Our reporter Saron Zagai traveled around Magala and spoke with residents that hope for a better upcoming New Year. Let's take a look.
مهر نيرم سولدين برنير بسانك أي حز مطيو بغارنا بسانك أي خله حز مطيو بيننا هاوس إننا تفعل أنا وزمت إننا عن مهر سمس استعارة مهر عشنا جمرنا إننا وزخارنا
يا قدم زغنتات قال عمل تمهاري تمارستي يعني قال عمل تمارستها تمهاري مهلهم بكورونا متنيات تقارجوا أو جزانا نهلنا ورر تحيلات بيمان سجام تهاويهم كتقنا بجمعه استشفى 10 سنين أما تمر الجمهور مالتي يا كم وقتهم زتكفى قتيل مقتالح شن زي السنة زي لا برحة تسلفه مالتي
سنفنا مكي شو عينيرة أقارته لازم ما كبد عاصم بكر شامنا يخفل حوزين إذا مهر نيرة
جريدر أوبريتر نيرة بونا وراي المحضر نيرة على سريحين نبر نيرة بلاس حنا حمام مخنات ياو لعدي 3 عامات جيرني أخذي بحمام كلاي 3 ساعة أخي الركن.
أسمع عن قصاي هذا المخورة نورنا نازل ده سفلي قدمنا في لينارنا عدش عامات كلام جزنيرنا تمرت وندال نيرنا دفتر جزنيرنا وبيرون جزنيرنا أزجن تايم زجزاء اللي
وقد هذه أو سريحة أعتني رحمة الله كله صبوا صراحة نيرني صبوا منه أو رأي نيرني بعلي سريحة أو العودة عملت لي نجارات كله بعلي مال نيرة أو حد ما نم صبونا أو رأي نبرس الجبر نجار كله مال نيرة خزجن أو من النجار اللي هم ذات رأي الله من معين زوجتي ولا
فعلم يا مسمى أنا كعزيون استمعنا نيرنا هذا مقلب طعم ترواري بالنعي نيرو انجرا يكون سجا يكون كل تحاورنا نيرو عامت مستعات أوزي عصوان كبان جن كعام سنة حزنا جن وكان أود عامت مخانه كن فلتس ما نمعلتي خام ترى ما نمعلتينا نحلفه
كدان نقدر نيرنا كل نجر مال لنا نيرو أزجن عصوان كبان خينا منهم نجر أي مال لنا اجنا عدنا سلام كوينا عدنا هنملس يقارنا بس منهم نجر يبنا نبز زميتنا أنا نخده
زرزر ياو خينات مالت بلعنا وسيء خينات مالت معبالي ولي خينات مالت مدفع عبدي مدفع تكالفي كل طقمي ودعات بيطقمي ولي طقم خاب من تعي خال سلام سلازي عم توقف من قصنا يكون سلام جل وعلا فازقنا السلام بالسلام كفتح زبل امنة لنا مغنيات أو كنا تقمي ولي أو كنا تنجري له
سلام كونوا للمعات كل هذا تقرأ كعصر سلام كونوا تمرتي ودي ده حصلت 5 سلام كونوا أنا مريعتي والله تمام زاد تماركم فلعلي ده تستمر
ነገራት ተኾነታት ዝፈጥሩ ምንለው አካላት ብንግግር ችግሮም ፈትሑ ዓድና ሰላም ተትኾን ሞ ኣብ ህዝብ ለሰላም ይኹን ኣነ ለ አልহামዱሊላህ ካለሁ ጉድሳት ሕዋቴ ወገናቴ ከፍቲ ለመዋጽኦም ታክ ሕክምና ትራንስፕላንት ክገብር ተስፋ ይገብር ሲለ
وتمنيتي سلام خوينو تهزبنا خاف شجرن كاو صبان وصيو نفط زنورخو هيوت تمليسه تمرتي قلصل تمنيتي ايو لا كل حزب تግራይ تمنيت خم زخنون يوليا سلام الرهوان كل رد حد شعب
It's been more than 2 years now since education in Tigray has been suspended after initially being interrupted for almost 6 months due to COVID-19 pandemic. However, this discontinuation went on for additional 2 years as the war in the region made it impossible for education to continue. Our reporter Abraha Garutinsaye spoke with students in Magale that they say regret being out of school and they wish they could go back to their respective education. Let's take a look.
Milat Mazgava says she was a third-year IT engineering student in Magala University MIT campus, but she has been out of education for more than 2 years now due to COVID-19 and the deadly war that has been waged on the people of Tigray since November 2020.
Before the coronavirus, things have been in order and things have been going as everybody always expected or always had planned on. But after the coronavirus and after the war came out, everybody's lives has been disturbed.
Haftom Hagos is another student whom we spoke with, and he says he was a grade 7 student before 3 years and he was supposed to complete his grade 9 education by now. However, says the little boy, he couldn't continue his education, which he feels sorry for that.
I was a grade 7 student 3 years ago, but my education has been interrupted first due to the coronavirus. Then schooling was resumed in October 2020, but it was closed after a month when a war erupted in November 2020. We have been out of school for more than 2 years due to the ongoing war.
The students also say that they had hoped to resume their education in the coming Ethiopian New Year, as they thought the negotiation between the warring parties would work. But their hope has been shattered as the deadly war resumes in Tigray.
For this new year, people thought this winter that there were some rumors about the negotiation and that things would be better. And if things were to be better, we would join school. But now that the war has erupted again, I don't think we are going to go to school, and I think it is, somehow devastating.
We used to buy new school uniforms and stationery materials for New Year before, but now there is nothing we can buy as we do not have the money to buy anything, and our hope for the resumption of school has faded away as the war erupts again.
The students expressed their wish for the war to end soon and continue their education. They also called the warring parties and the international community to look way for peaceful negotiation to work so that they can resume their education soon.
I expect the international committees, the warring parties, to take people's lives into consideration and then to see how devastating the situation is for everybody.
I wish to continue my education soon and realize my dream to complete my education, get a good job, and support my family.
Tigray's education system has been among the targets of the Allied invading Eritrean and Ethiopian forces as well as the Amhara militia since November 2020. Based on a preliminary assessment by Tigray Education Bureau, more than 80% of schools in Tigray have been destroyed and vandalized by the Allied forces. Hundreds of thousands of Tigrayan children are now out of school, and they have been made to be victims of deadly starvation and indiscriminate aerial bombardments.
The past year has had its gruesome features that the war had killed thousands and displaced millions more. This, coupled with an all-encompassing siege, has devastated the IDP sheltered in different IDP camps. Our reporters have spoken with IDPs in different IDP camps around Magala that they say now are forced to welcome the Ethiopian New Year away from their family and neighborhood. Mintakirana reports.
September 11 marks the Ethiopian New Year. According to the culture, festivities such as New Year are celebrated with families, friends, and loved ones. However, due to the war on Tigray that has forced millions out of their homes, many in Tigray have been forced to spend their holidays away from anything that is familiar. We visited different IDP camps across Mekelle and spoke with people displaced from western Tigray, an area that remains under the occupation of Ethiopian forces and cronies, to see how they have been coping.
We used to celebrate New Year in a special way. Western Tigray is rich in so many ways, and the population too is well off, and so we celebrated holidays in a very special way. During holidays, people would make special foods, buy new clothes, and celebrate it happily. Starting from the middle of August till some time after New Year, Western Tigray is very vibrant since it is a time where harvest is collected. People from different areas across the country would gather around and participate in the process. We used to celebrate New Year happily. When New Year comes, we used to buy sheep or goats for the feast. We also used to go to church and celebrate it with our neighbors. Everyone used to exchange New Year's wish too. Holiday used to be happy days.
Back home, we used to celebrate the holiday together with our neighbors and friends. We used to share foods and drinks too.
The IDPs say that they had hoped to celebrate this New Year in their homes, but they still remain in the camp suffering from the siege-induced starvation and lack of medical supplies.
Everything we ever needed was available back in our village. But here, we are even unable to find injera and shuro. Sometimes it doesn't even feel like it is a holiday because we are barely surviving and nothing in our life calls for celebration. Last year, we were really happy to return to our home and we had even prepared everything to start our lives over there. Unfortunately, we are still here and the past year was full of problems. We were hoping to go back to our usual lives. We are really hoping that things would go to normal.
Unable to get in touch with their family members and loved ones due to the communications blackout, the IDPs asked us to pass their New Year's wishes.
My dear son Mulat, how are you? I hope after watching this, you would get back to me. My sister Sandayo in Sudan, how are you? Is everyone in the family alright? We are really worried about you. Azmara Mirat, how are you? I miss you a lot. I heard that you're in Sudan, but I don't know about your well-being and I'm worried. I hope to see you all real soon.
Despite their current reality, the displaced persons are filled with hope that the new year would bring peace and happiness and they can finally go home.
We have a big hope for the next year. We pray to go back home. We hope the new year will bring us peace. We still are hopeful to see peace and go back to our homes.
Survivors of the Maikadra massacre, who are now sheltered in one of the schools repurposed to IDP centers in Mekelle, are facing siege-induced multiple problems such as lack of medication, telecommunications, banking, and other essential services. They say that the hope that they have had to resettle to their homes in the Ethiopian New Year has been dashed out due to the resumed war on Tigray. Haile Gabru reports.
Desta Haile Selassie, a person with chronic illness who has been displaced from Maikadra, a flashpoint of the barbaric massacre committed by the Amhara forces, now in dire need of medical attention. We met Desta at Maiwene IDP center in Mekelle, experiencing a devastating situation due to his illness. He says only he and his wife have sheltered here, as his daughter has fled to Sudan and he has lost the whereabouts of his 3 other children.
I used to live in Maikadra, Western Tigray. We have been expelled from our place of origin by the Amhara Fano vigilante group. They told us to leave Maikadra from no reason. Thus, I just left my place of origin with my wife on November 9, 2020, and I have been sheltered here. However, my daughter has fled to Sudan. Similarly, my cousin are also now living in Tanedba, an IDP camp in Sudan. I have also 3 other children that I don't know their whereabouts. The enemy forces have killed children, mothers and the elderly due to their identity. We have seen corpses feel like leaves in autumn along the main street while we were coming here. It's so painful, so shaking.
Mr. Dasta's health condition is deteriorating. He says that he cannot urinate in a toilet without the help of a wheelchair.
I am suffering from blood pressure. Doctors were able to prescribe me a medicine and I was using them for the last 10 years. Right after 10 years, however, I have now stopped taking the medicine for the first time due to the ongoing siege in Tigray. I am suffering a lot. It's almost a month since I stopped taking my medicine. Consequently, sometimes my eyesight becomes blurry. It also puts me a pain on my back and it also makes me block my voice. Now I am in terrible condition. On top of this, health professionals also told me that I am getting paralyzed for I am not taking the medicine properly. I cannot urinate in a toilet due to the fact that I am paralyzed. I am using that chair instead. I used to sit there and urinate.
Dasta also wishes that the new year would bring him peace so that he could reunite with his separated children and be back to his normal life in Maikadra in the upcoming new year.
Yeshimebete, my daughter, in this new year I hope peace is approaching to prevail, so that we will cheer up in our sweet home in Maikadra, as we used to be. Please extend my greeting to Berihu, Wudu, Mamit and Tarreka. Keep strong all. You shouldn't lose hope that we meet in the new year with a new spirit.
And finally, Mulu Ubui, a kidney patient who is suffering from lack of dialysis, says he hopes that the coming Ethiopian New Year will be a better year for the people of Tigray and those suffering from chronic illnesses. Aragayu Germankael reports.
Mulu Abu is a resident of Mekelle and a father of 3. He has been diagnosed with kidney failure before 3 years. According to him, he had a good job and a stable life before he became ill. However, now, due to the huge amount of medical expense he needs and the current situation of the country, he is found in a desperate condition.
Grader operator in Iran.
I used to work as a grader operator and I had a good life, but for the last 3 years I sustained a kidney failure and forced to live with the help of dialysis. Before the start of the war in Tigray, I used to get different helps from different people to cover my medical expenses. But after the war broke out, I couldn't be able to get any help as almost all the people in Tigray are living in the worst hardship.
Mulu also told that the previous year was the most difficult year of his life, as his fate and the fate of his family have fully depended on the charity of other people.
It's very difficult. The thing is, I could endure my own case by myself, but it is very painful to expect help from others to feed your own children. Sometimes I try to work despite of my condition, but the expense of living and medical supplies are very high these days, so it is impossible for me to cope up with it.
Mulu also said that his health condition has highly declined during the total siege of Tigray throughout the year due to lack of basics and medical supplies.
Due to the shortage of medical supplies in Tigray, I'm suffering from lack of medicines, and if I manage to get the medicine in private pharmacies, the price is very expensive. As a result, I'm forced to lower my dialysis session from twice a week to once a week. On top of that, I am also forced to use the one-shot use and throw dialyzer for over 10 times, as I couldn't be able to get a new one. Because of this, I was exposed to different infections, and my strength is getting weaker and weaker from day to day.
Regardless of all the existing difficulties in the country, Mulu said that he has a hope that peace will prevail in Tigray and the rest of Ethiopia, and things will return to normalcy so patients like him could get the proper medical attention they seek.
I wish that our country became peaceful and the warring parties could able to settle their differences through negotiation, so the people could get peace. And I also wish that I could get help from my fellow brothers in order to get a kidney transplant, so I could take care of my family in the coming Ethiopian New Year.
And that's all we have for this edition. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.
بعيني كريئة مربتي بعيني كريئة حارنتي بعيني كريئة